Cordia, and I welcome the opportunity to speak on this bill that I'm co-sponsoring with my colleague Deputy Willie O'Dea here this afternoon. And I suppose just to capture some of the points that my colleague has said, we're bringing this forward for the right reasons, Minister. This is to alleviate the congestion that's already in a process that's unnecessarily backlogged. Who is it going to help? It's going to help the most vulnerable in society, the people that's elderly, that needs their houses adapted, or people with disability. And as my colleague Willie O'Dea said, we don't want it to grab a headline, because we just wanted to help the people that's on the front line that needs to access this service, access these grants if approved more efficiently, more effectively and more quickly, so they can improve their quality of life, their standard of life, and keep them living where they're happiest, which is at home. And that's what's key here. And having looked at the amendment that was put forward by government, which is proposing delaying the process for 6 months, I completely would be opposed to that in my own right, because I think it's unnecessary. Because what we're suggesting here is to help the process, and in line with the review that's being carried out at the moment, this bill could be implemented tomorrow morning, and it won't affect the review, because all it's doing is information gathering at the one time, submitting it together and having a decision within a month, which isn't the case at the moment. So there is no good reason to prevent this bill, or there's no good reason not to accept this, because it's a hugely positive, practical, pragmatic piece of work that my colleague Willie O'Dea and myself have undertaken to do. And this is mainly geared, as we know, at people in their own private homes who needs adaptation work done as they get older or with a disability. And we know that the actual same grant system for council tenants is done through a different process, through the Architects Department and local authorities, so it's a completely different process. And as I said, this will make us a lot more efficient and streamline the process, because we went round and spoke with our colleagues and with different local authorities around in the different counties, Minister, and it can take up to 6 months and beyond. Some local authorities are exceptionally good, but unfortunately that inconsistency exists, and where the inconsistency exists, the most vulnerable is at risk, and they're the people that's actually suffering. And also, if you look at the area of hospitals and in actually nursing homes, and I know that I've been involved in this myself in my own county, where people are waiting for grants to be approved and to go through the whole lengthy process, which is unnecessarily dragged out, that actually people are actually medically fit to be discharged from a hospital or a nursing home, but that can't happen because of the delay in the grants being approved and the work being done to make the house obviously independent for them to go and operate in, and obviously have that modification work done. That's a huge problem. And as we know, that when you're speaking to someone that wants to be independent, they want to be at home, they don't want to be in hospitals or nursing homes, especially when they know that they have a house they can live in happily with some very minor or maybe not so minor modifications done to it with the aid of this grant, which can be up to a maximum of €30,000. And I think it's just worth pointing out the detail of the bill. The applicant, at the moment, there is no extra cost to the applicant, Minister, whatsoever, because currently the current process and this is similar in parallel, only the information gathering is done at the one time. The application still has to be completed by the applicant. They still must submit all of their income details, and they must also submit confirmation that they've paid the property tax where that's applicable. And then also they will be now submitting an occupational therapist report, and obviously the occupational therapist that's in the community or in the hospital or wherever is working with these people that needs these modifications, and they in most cases make a recommendation with their application in the first case, or they maybe even contact the local authority to help these people get back to independent living. But the irony in this is you have a suitably qualified occupational therapist in the community that makes a practical, pragmatic recommendation which is completely ignored. And therefore then that adds to further delays and obviously problems in the process. So the occupational therapist that's operating on the ground in the community at the moment with these people and helping them with these applications, their recommendation for whatever modification needs to be done will be submitted with the application that goes in by the applicant. And then also you'll have 2 registered contractors that's tax compliant submitting the quotations, which is exactly the process at the moment, but it's done over a much protracted time, whereas actually it'll be done and submitted with the application. And then in most cases, as it happens at the moment, there is no need for an architect to do any design or drawing, depending unless it's something substantial. So therefore, that's not a detail that exists at the moment. But if it does need to be done, it's up to the applicant to submit that drawing at present. So again, we're not changing anything, Minister. We're saying that with this process, if this is needed, they will submit that as well by a suitably qualified person. So that's so therefore there is no change, and there is no additional cost here to the applicant whatsoever. So there is no impediment, because all of this information they have to submit it over a protracted period, where now we're saying let's submit it at the one time, and then let's have a decision made within 4 weeks of the application being submitted, which obviously makes the whole process hugely more efficient and more streamlined for the applicant. Because sometimes what happens as well, you have the occupational therapist that's in the community working with these people that's ageing or with a disability. They're engaging with them regularly, so they see the complications and the complexities within their home that they need to get adjusted almost as soon as possible. And then when that application goes into the local authority at the moment and they send out their own occupational therapist, that occupational therapist can be completely at variance with what's practical and pragmatic, will have no understanding for the issues that the person is experiencing or the turmoil their life is after going into because of their condition, and therefore has no hesitation, in one case recently, in actually recommending, in one county, an occupational therapist independent from the local authority recommended to put this person who was severely disabled into a room with no window. Like, that's the level of silliness that's going on at the moment, where the inconsistencies. And when it was flagged up with the occupational therapist report from the community that went in, who was actually working with this person on a regular weekly basis, that was completely ignored. So that's what we're trying to do, is cut out all of that time delay, all of that unnecessary red tape, and work with suitably qualified people that's on the ground and submitted to get a decision. And obviously our population is ageing, Minister, as you know, and more people are going to want to live at home and live independently, and this is obviously a good way of making sure that happens sooner rather than later. And it is important, Minister, and I hope that you do embrace this bill and the positives in it and the actual sentiment behind this, because it's only, as I say, motivated really as one individual, and that's the applicant, who's badly in need of living independently in their own home with the help of a grant to overcome the issues that they've experienced through age or through having a disability. Thank you.